Group Dynamics in the Avengers by Abigail, Grace, and Ellie. The Avengers are a group of superheroes recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. to protect the Earth. In the first movie that we used for this presentation, the group is made up of Iron Man, the Hulk, and Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and eventually Thor. Each of these members have special abilities which make them Earth's mightiest heroes. While starting out as individuals, over time we see them grow into a team. Their diverse backgrounds and abilities make it difficult to coexist at times, but in the end, the group always puts the needs of the Earth first. Each of them had their own role to play, and each role is needed for their success. SHIELD, the agency that recruited the Avengers, stands for Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division. Their mission is to defend Earth from groups that pose a threat from advanced technologies, supernatural abilities, or even extraterrestrial threats. Each of the members have abilities that S.H.I.E.L.D. knows it will need in order to effectively combat one of these threats to Earth. For this presentation, the threat is from Loki stealing the Tesseract. Loki uses the Tesseract to be able to move through space, as well as control the minds of those who come in contact with his scepter. Though their time as individuals, the Avengers all had moments where they used their abilities for good. Because of their abilities and willingness to do good, they were chosen for the Avengers. Just like any group of people that come together, they aren't without conflict. There are big differences in personalities that lead to issues throughout. The biggest example of this rift is the personality of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Steve has a background of a small kid who was often picked on, so even though he is now incredibly strong, he carries the scrawny kid mentality with him. Tony has always been a rebel who is incredibly intelligent, who very rarely, if ever, heard an opposing idea. There's also conflict, a small conflict throughout who the strongest of them um who the strongest of them is, as shown in the battle between Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. Throughout the movie, there are jabs at one another on who is the strongest. And another great example of conflict is when the team is all on the ship and they are looking for Loki's scepter. Banner and Tony use this as an opportunity to also pursue their own interests, poking around into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s computers. They find out when S.H.I.E.L.D. is making weapons, which creates a rift in the group. The hypocrisy of Tony being upset by this when his company was founded on weapon manufacturing is pointed out, leading into bigger group conflict. At this point, Captain America takes charge and gets the group back in line, while Fury struggles to keep control. On the ship, during the fighting, Agent Coulson is killed. This pushes the group into action, and without an order, they all take off to find Loki. At, at this point, a portal is opened and Loki's army arrives. This is where the true group is formed as they begin to work flawlessly together in battle. They position Hawkeye on top of a building to call out movement and pick off enemies. Iron Man, with his technology and quick maneuvering analysis weaknesses, and helps coordinate uh, the group. Captain America takes over ground control and protects the people. He works with the police to help save citizens. The best order was given to the Hulk, which was simply smash, which he executed flawlessly. The climax of the movie is when the government loses hope and sends a nuke to destroy the city. Iron Man, the person who throughout the movie is seen as selfish, takes the missile into space to save the city. This is effectively a suicide mission where he sacrifices himself to save the city, putting the needs of everyone else over himself. He does make it back before the portal closes and is saved by the Hulk. The moment he comes to his crystallizing moment where they are truly becoming the Avengers we know today.
So we just talked a little bit about how a group is formed. So now we're going to move into talking about different group roles. There are three categories of group roles: task-related roles, maintenance roles, and negative roles. And each one plays a vital part in creating a group or team. It's important to realize that group roles can change and evolve over time, and not one person will have one particular role throughout their entire time period with a group or a team. They can change and evolve and are very fluid. People can take on multiple roles, or roles can be shifted from person to person between the time period and depending on the problem or the situation at hand. Group roles, although they can be fluid and ever-changing, they help determine team dynamics and how the team responds to problems. Different people taking on different roles affect how the team responds in a crisis situation and how they go about working together. So, a breakdown of some group roles in the Avengers. So first we have Captain America. He would be the task leader. This person helps the group make decisions and is known for their leadership abilities and their problem-solving skills. Captain America is a well-known war hero and a leader, and this is why he kind of fits into this role as the task leader, and he takes control of the group and established himself in a leadership position from the very beginning. Next we have Tony Stark, or Iron Man. He fits the role of monopolizer. He likes to kind of have all the attention and be the star of the show. He likes to have everyone know what he's doing and that he's there. But this role actually kind of shifts within the movie, so we see that, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Nick Fury has the role of supporter. He provides support and encouragement to the group when needed, and is often seen taking the group aside, kind of one-on-one, and having those intimate conversations and encouraging the group and supporting them and encouraging them of their place in the team when they have doubts. Black Widow fits the social emotional leader or group role. She is well liked and compatible with the task leader, and she provides support and encouragement not only to the task leader but to the group as a whole. This is seen many times throughout the movie when she is supporting Captain America, but another example that comes to mind is when Clint Barton, or Hawkeye, is taken control of by Loki, and his mind is under the control, and she works with him to get Loki's influence off of him, and she is there to support him when he's dealing with the after effects from that mind control that he was facing. And then Thor is the tension releaser. The tension releaser is naturally likable and is able to use their personality and their humor to relieve tension within the group. Thor fits this role because he has a very unique perspective on life, being from a completely different culture. He is the god of thunder from Asgard, a completely different planet from the rest of our team in the Avengers, and so he has a different take on a lot of the situations and is able to kind of keep a more fun and positive outlook that is used to release the tension with all of the members. So here's some examples of group roles within the movie. Like I said, Captain America emerges as the leader from the beginning. This stands out especially in the final battle. I know we talk about this a little bit more later in the presentation, but right away from the jump, he is seen directing the police forces on the ground to help better protect the citizens, and he is also seen kind of giving out roles and jobs to all of the other Avengers to help them best protect the city. And this is just very natural for him. He doesn't hesitate, and he also does it in a way that isn't controlling or bossy or domineering. He is very naturally he's a good natural leader. And so it's very important that he has that role because it gives the other members of the team direction, and he knows their roles as well, so he's able to direct them to do what's best for the group as a whole. Like I mentioned a little bit before, Iron Man's role as the monopolizer actually changes and evolves throughout the movie. I would argue that his group role is the one who you can notice evolves the most throughout the movie. When we first meet Iron Man in the team setting, he's coming when Loki takes over the symphony orchestra performance, and he's standing in front of a crowd of innocent bystanders, telling them to kneel and to bow before him. And Iron Man comes in, and AC/DC is blaring from the speakers, and he just really seems to want to have all the attention on himself, and he wants to stand out and be the only one people's eyes are on. And he's just very much very selfish and very arrogant, and he does not seem to want to listen to instruction from anyone, including the task leader, which would be Captain America. And so they, for the first little bit of the movie, they get into a lot of arguments because they don't want to. Iron Man doesn't want to take direction, and Captain America doesn't like people who don't follow the rules. So they get into a little bit of a squabble every once in a while. But towards the end of the movie, his Iron Man's role actually evolves a little bit, and he ends up sacrificing himself to save the city. He realizes that the only way that they can close the big portal that is sending all these monsters and enemies into the city is for somebody to go into the portal and to blow it up from the inside. And so he decides to sacrifice himself and do that. He doesn't know while he's doing it that he's going to be able to make it out alive. And so he decides to sacrifice himself. And I think that is a great example of his group role changing and evolving, because oftentimes monopolizers don't do what's best for the group as a whole. They just have their self-interest in their minds, and that's all they want to do. But we see Iron Man's role shift towards the end. Like I've been mentioning throughout the movie, each member does their part to benefit the group as a whole, and they can build on each other. Next, we're going to talk about kind of the diversity in a group and how that can be beneficial, and group roles kind of lean into those differences, and the differences are what makes the team work the best, because where one person may have a weakness or isn't as good at something, there's another person's strength that can come and bolster that and kind of improve that. So those are some examples of how group roles work throughout the movie Avengers. Now we're going to move on to talking about how diversity affects the team.
Hi, my name is Ellie Phillips, and I'm going to be talking about the diversity within the Avengers. So, to start out with the diversity, we kind of have to set the base level of how each character in the main set are so different and then what they bring to the table. So, we could start out with Captain America, or Steve Rogers. He is a World War II soldier slash experiment that survived and is adjusting to the modern world. He's the natural born leader of the group, and he really brings just that leadership role to this set of 6. Then we have Iron Man, or Tony Stark. He's a genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. He's had the life of luxury, but recently he went through a change where he wants to protect the world from the evils of the galaxy because he realized how in danger that they actually are. Then we have Thor, god of thunder. He's a demigod. He's coming in this movie to fight his evil brother Loki from the world called Asgard. So as you can see just from the starting one, we have a lot of different stories and a lot of different backgrounds that are already coming into play. Then our next 3 are Black Widow, or Natasha Romanoff. She is a spy that was actually just raised to basically follow orders, a soldier from birth, just very set by SHIELD as like whatever they tell her to do, she must follow. Then we have Hawkeye, who is the greatest living marksman that SHIELD has to offer. He's very similar to Black Widow in that like the whatever is said to you needs to be followed, but he brings on that marksman ability to the team. Then we have Hulk or Bruce Banner. He's a gamma radiation study gone wrong. He's a scientist on one side, which you can see in the purple, and then he's an uncontrollable killing monster on the other side, which is in the green. These three really round out the group at the end because of what they bring. They kind of help out the other three, and it's kind of more of a collective group. But in the beginning, their diversity really affects the team, and you can see it in the movie on how different everyone is and how that changes the dynamics within the group. So, kind of what I was saying, the whole part of the Avengers are to unite a group of people more powerful or otherworldly in order to fight the battles that normal people never could. In order to do this, they need to become a team. The diversity within this group is what makes it work. Their skill sets balance each other out and collectively advance the productivity of the group. So, with the diversity, there obviously come strengths with these groups, just like any group. Some of these they come with different assets, they can cover each other's weaknesses, and then they're united for a common goal, such as trying to defeat Thor's evil brother Loki in this instance. So with that, we can see very clearly that they cover each other, and their different backgrounds and stories definitely have an advantage to them because of their differences. However, with this storyline, there's also some faults that show, and that would be there's no trust between the members because they aren't the same. They don't really know each other. They have those differences, difference of opinions, all of that kind of stuff. And then unique views on pretty much every issue. So throughout the movie, there's multiple times where there's arguments or there's just disagreements in general between how things should go and how they should be run. So some diversity within the Avengers key moments that I pulled from the movie are the first one of when Nick Fury, the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., is recruiting all of the Avengers. So this is at the very beginning of the movie where you kind of meet each character. It's showing their different lifestyles that they lead and how that they can work together in the big picture that Nick Fury wants. This obviously doesn't happen just right away. The next key moment would be their first fight within the group. This actually is a moment when they test each other for the first time and figure out eventually that they can trust each other, but they have to go through that first fight in order to achieve that. In this movie, it's because Loki, Thor's brother and like the main villain of the story, is trying to test them and break them apart because he knows these are people that are coming from different sides of the world or even different worlds, and they don't really know each other that well. They have those differences, and the diversity is what is kind of separating them from each other. And then another key moment that we're actually going to watch a part of is the ending fight scene. So this scene is where each member uses their strengths that they have to cover each other's weaknesses. So before I start the video, I'll just kind of break it down. So Captain America in this will be giving out kind of their orders, but he's just assigning them their tasks because he knows how to kind of put people in certain places in order to cover everyone's weakness and make sure that everything's covered. So in this, Hawkeye and Iron Man take to the skies because they can watch everyone, make sure that everything is covered. And then Black Widow and Captain America keep to the ground where all of the fighting is because that's what they're good at. They're good at the hand-to-hand combat. They're good to the face-to-face kind of stuff. And then Thor has the power of lightning, so he is helping control all of the evil like things that are coming in from the sky from another galaxy. It'll make more sense when you see it, but what I'm trying to say is just the like advantages that each person has and the strengths that they have show in this scene, and then you can see how they've kind of figured out how to cover each other's weaknesses within that. So we can just watch that. So you can kind of see, oops, you can kind of see from that, like how Captain America is kind of telling them what to do, but he's also taking into account what their strengths are and how they can help the team. And then another point with that was when Iron Man kind of gives up his power because throughout the movie he wants to be the leader. He wants to be the one calling the shots. He wants to be that person, and you can see that he's the first one that kind of says, "Call it out, Cap," and he gives into that knowledge that he isn't the best leader for this group. He isn't that one. So even though he's used to being the one in control, he can see that Captain America is the better option. So within this group, the diversity affects it because they have those differences and they have the difference of opinion, but then it also strengthens them to a point where they have all of these different powers and otherworldly abilities that help them, which in turn grows the group to a point where they are able to eventually defeat Loki and this army and then save New York. So, in conc- in conclusion, the Avengers are great at working together when they respond to an emergency. Like I was saying throughout the beginning of the movie, however, they lack some group development. Once they learn to trust each other and know that they are working for a common goal, they learn how to operate as a team. Showing how a group of people from different cultures and even different worlds can come together for the greater good is how this movie kind of is portrayed. Um, we can see how they learn to identify each other's strengths and weaknesses and complement each other. Um, those key moments are very evident and they show how each person can kind of identify those and then they learn to work together as like this group of six, but then there's also different moments where they're just working on pairs and then they can even work in smaller groups than that six, and they kind of work together and know those differences. So each member takes on the role that is needed and at the time and can support and encourage the others in the group. So yeah, and that is the Avengers.